We're going to finish up now the Chapter 15 study guide. We've covered the Chapter 15 slides, so I'm going to go back and cover and go over the ones that we skipped. All right, number 3, the fossilized remains of 2 different species are found, and scientists are interested in determining the evolutionary relationship between the 2 species. List 3 examples of fossil evidence which would be useful in determining relatedness. Those would be homologous structures, like vertebrate forelimbs, vestigial structures, like the vertebrate coccyx or tailbone, and biogeographical evidence like we found with the finches and the tortoises. Number 12, list 3 lines of evidence considered by Darwin in his development of the theory of natural selection. And we already had talked about the fossil evidence and the biogeographical evidence, but then we didn't cover this yet. So when we study homologous and vestigial structures and embryological evidence, what we're studying is called the field of comparative anatomy. We're comparing anatomy. So comparative anatomy was our 3rd line of evidence, was Darwin's 3rd line of evidence. Comparative anatomy, biogeographical evidence like the finches and the tortoises, and the fossil record. Number 16, fossils like Archaeopteryx offer evidence linking blank and blank. And we didn't cover that, but the Archaeopteryx is the fossil of modern birds and dinosaurs. So linking dinosaurs and modern birds. The Archaeopteryx is the dinosaur bird, basically. You've probably seen it before. So that was 16. Number 17, homologous structures such as the bones in wings, flippers, and arms would be studied in the field of blank, and that would be comparative anatomy. Number 18, birds and insects both have wings, but we do not consider this similarity as evidence of relatedness because blank. And this is just identical to the answer in the homework. The wings are not homologous structures, implying a common ancestral origin. That's the answer, but I added to it. The wings are examples of analogous structures which do not imply a common ancestral origin. Okay, now we're going to move on to number 20. Which misconception about evolution can be refuted with the molecular evidence that is being collected through DNA analysis? And this misconception is that evolution proposes life changed as a result of random events. But traits are too complex to have originated by chance alone. And molecular evidence through DNA analysis just shows that it's just, there's no way that the changes are a result of random events. And that doesn't mean that we're saying evolution was caused by God, even though there's definitely that belief, and that's fine. But we can't test that belief with science. But in biology, we do say that evolution proposes life changed as a result of natural selection. Nature selected the traits that were more suited for survival. It wasn't just random, the traits that were selected. And that's what the evidence has led us to, and that was a misconception at one time, is that the life changes in species came about as a result of random events, and that just doesn't make sense, actually. So best way to say it. All right, number 22, what is the main reason that the alternative explanations to evolution are not considered scientific? Alternative explanations would be, for example, the supernatural explanations, such as creationism, that God created everything and everything has happened through God. We're not saying that's not true. I know a lot of people who teach biology. I know a lot of researchers, a lot of science people do believe in God. It's just that you can't really test that belief with the scientific method. So it's not that anybody's saying that those alternative explanations aren't true. It's that scientists are saying we can't use the scientific method to prove it, you know. So you have to use, what do we call that? Faith, you know. So number 22, hopefully, I know we're not in class, we don't get a chance to talk about this, but hopefully that'll help you sort of sort through if you are having any questions. And you can also email me, and I will be back after Thanksgiving, so we can talk about this some more if you would like. Okay, number 23, we already did. So the next one is number 26, and then also number 27. 26 says list 3 examples. This would be like current examples. List 3 examples demonstrating that evolution can be observed and studied, like today. Bacteria and antibiotic resistance, weeds and herbicide resistance, and then HIV, although that is a virus, and viruses are not technically considered living things because they're not cellular and they have to have a host cell to survive. And I'm going to ask you about that next semester. I'm going to see if you remember that. But we can still study evolution in viruses, for sure. I mean, we've seen it. We see it with COVID, you know. So HIV and resistance to various drug treatments. HIV will respond to drug treatments for a time, and then the drug treatments have to evolve to treat the evolving HIV, you know. So, and I will say about bacteria and antibiotic resistance, I can say this because I've been alive a lot longer than you guys have. And I remember going to the doctor when I was a little girl. And anybody that went to the doctor with a cold, if you went to your pediatrician with a cold, they gave you penicillin. You got a shot of penicillin. I remember it because all the children were scared, you know, because you knew you were going to get a shot, you know. So, they don't give penicillin anymore for colds. Penicillin is not effective to treat colds because the number one, cold is a virus. But also, even if you do get an infection now from a cold, like a sinus infection or an ear infection, if that does end up happening, even if it started out as a virus, but you end up getting a bacterial infection, antibiotics only treat bacterial infections. But the antibiotics that used to work no longer work. They've had to change the antibiotics and even give people like what I call it a cocktail of antibiotics. But, you know, several different antibiotics mixed together in order to treat a lot of our bacterial infections today. And that is because of the overuse of antibiotics many years ago. Now, number 27 is our last one, and it says, which of the following features were present in the transitional species between amphibian tetrapods and the fishes? And we went over this. That would be fins, simple wrist bones, and expanded ribs. And I don't know if you noticed in the picture, it didn't look like the transitional species had simple wrist bones, but you couldn't see the wrist of the transitional species because it was what do you say, like rotted away, or you know, it wasn't there anymore. So but that transitional species had simple wrist bones too. So the transitional species had these 3 characteristics, some of which we see in the fish and some of which we see in the amphibians. But it was the transition between amphibians, between fishes and amphibians. And you should have your study guide completed now, so you can actually upload it. And we will do chapter 19 when we come back from Thanksgiving. Don't forget also, you guys, let me show you this. Don't forget that you have, I don't know if I posted it on Moodle or not, you have a lab practical study guide. Yes, I did. I posted the final exam study guide. So it is 70 questions. Make sure you are working on this. Make sure you're working on this because that's going to be your longest exam that you've had. And it is a combination of all the, you know, what do you call that? God, I can't think. I'm sorry. Cumulative. It's cumulative. So I am hoping you guys have a very happy Thanksgiving break, and I will see you guys the Monday we come back from Thanksgiving, which is December 2nd. Please email me with any questions that you have.